they replaced a very big empire, a big, not empire but a kingdom you can say, but it was bigger than a kingdom. So that's why it is known as the age of Satvahans. So just remember a point here, that Satvahans, they were replaced by Vakataks. Okay. So when you discuss the post-Mauryan India, there after the Mauryan Empire declined, we saw the rise of Satvahans. Okay. But after the decline of Guptas, Vakataks came and they replaced Satvahans in the Deccan India. So this is the part here you can see in the map of India. This was the Satavahan Empire. As I told you, it is a kind of empire which is bigger than the kingdom. It had a very great expansion. So we will start the discussion from here. Now you will say that the topic is about post-Gupta period. Then why are we connecting it from the post-Mauryan India? The reason is that Vakataks, who replaced Satavahan, they are important for us. We need to understand the clash between Satvahans and Vakataks to understand the post-Gupta period. Okay, that's why I'm starting the discussion from the post-Mauryan India. We'll connect it to the post-Gupta period. Is it clear to you? Please send me a hi or hello in the comment box, guys. Yes. Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. I can see everything is working fine now. Okay, great. So now let's connect the topic again. As I was discussing this with you, that this is your lecture number 14, guys. Okay. And you know that this is the series 6 to 12th NCERT series. So in this lecture number 14, the topic is post-Gupta. So we will discuss post-Gupta period, but in the post-Gupta period, the most important kingdom which we need to cover is Vakataks. Vakataks who replaced Satvahans. That's why we need to understand Satvahans first. Okay, are you getting the point? After discussing Satvahans only, we can understand the rise of Vakataks in the Deccan India. Apart from this, we have other kingdoms also. We need to see some kingdoms in the eastern part of India and some of them were in the southern India. So all of them will be covered today. Okay. So let's understand the political developments which happened after the post-Mauryan India, how it got the stability in the Gupta Empire, and then how it connected to the post-Guptas. Okay. So just to understand the sequence, we are discussing the Deccan India, which is this particular part here, and we have Satvahans here. So these Satvahan rulers, they expanded a lot, and there was a ruler, Gautami Putra Satkarni, very important ruler, about which you need to read, you need to write, and you should have proper notes. So in Deccan and in the central India, okay, we are discussing the political history of Satvahans first, who came after the post-Mauryan India. So the Deccan India and the central India had the Satvahans. Okay, so as you know that whenever a big empire collapses, we see the rise of many small kingdoms. Okay, so when this Mauryan Empire, which was so huge, so big, when it collapsed, there was rise of many small kingdoms in India. So in the Deccan India, we saw the rise of Satvahans who succeeded the area of Mauryas in the central India and the parts of Deccan. Although after a gap of about 100 years, but they survived for a quite long period. Satvahans, they are considered to be identical with Andhras. Okay, sometimes you will see the word Andhras, they are also known as Andhras. So Andhras are mentioned in Puranas, but in Puranas it does not speak about the Satavahan rule. The name Andhra does not occur in Satavahan inscription also, but we see that they are identical with the Andhras. Satavahans, they established themselves in the central India by defeating Kanvas. So you can say that we had Kanvas, and I have already discussed about Kanvas with you when we covered the post-Mauryan India. If you remember, I dictated you few points about Kanvas also. Shungas, Kanvas, we discussed it. Okay, so Kanvas were replaced by these Satavahan rulers, and Satavahan rulers were replaced by Vakatakas. This chronology needs to be remembered by you. Okay, so basically they defeated Kanvas in these areas, and after defeating Kanvas they got this particular empire. Now the most important ruler is Gautami Putra Satkarni. Gautami Putra Satkarni, who ruled from 106 AD to 130 AD. He called himself the only Brahman. So here you can see a quite change in society, that Brahmans can also be the rulers now. Why it was something like that? If you remember, the Pushyamitra Sunga, who started the Sunga kingdom, he defeated Mauryas, right? The eastern Mauryas, and he revolted. He was the commander in chief of the army. He revolted inside the army. He was a Brahman. So somehow during the time of Mauryas, there was more exaggeration on the Buddhism and Jainism. These two religions, Buddhism and Jainism, got a lot of promotions. So there was a hype created around these two religions. So Brahmins wanted to take a kind of revenge, you can say. Many Brahman rulers came here. So Brahmins also started saying that we can also rule. When Kshatriyas can, be rebellious and start their own religions, then Brahmins can also start their own kingdoms. However, according to the Varna system, this kind of fragmentation was never done as per the birth. But now they started doing it. Brahmins also started ruling. So he used to say that he is the only Brahman. He became the ruler now. So he defeated the Shakas. If you remember, Shakas, they were the invaders. They came, they stayed here for a very long time. And they had different satraps, means provinces, in the western part of India. So few of the provinces were defeated and they got captured by Gautami Putra Satkarni, but they're not saying that they completely replaced Shakas or they ended the Shaka rule. No. Who ended the Shaka rule? Who completely finished Shakas from the western India? We covered it in the last class. It was Chandragupta II Vikramaditya, right? So Chandragupta II Vikramaditya of the Gupta Empire, he will completely destroy Shakas and will take the title Shakari. But before him, Gautami Putra Satkarni also defeated Shakas and destroyed many Kshatriya rulers. Like few empires were there in Malwa, in north to Karnataka in south. He tried to capture many of the kingdoms. He expanded a lot. The coins and the inscriptions of Gautami Putras, they tell us about their immediate successors and the rulers who came after him. Okay, so in the coins and inscription, we see that who were immediate successors. So we found that Vashishta Putra Pulumai, who ruled from 130 to 154 AD, was the next successor. Okay, and inscriptions are found in Andhra, so they confirm this. Now this ruler, Vishishtaputra, he set up his capital at Paithan, which is on the Godavari in Aurangabad district. So there he started ruling and he was also expanding the empire. Then next powerful ruler came, who was Rudradaman I. Rudradaman I, who ruled from AD 130 to 150. I hope you remember that we discussed Rudradaman rulers, Rudradaman I, Rudradaman II, Rudradaman III, right? So Rudradaman I, he, after him he came from 130 to 150. He was the one who again had fight with Shakas. Okay, and of course he wanted to get the part of Saurashtra, Kathiawar area. So yes, he was having a clash with Satavahans, and this ruler also had relations with Guptas later, you will see. Then we have Yajna Sri Satkarni. Yajna Satkarni, he recovered the North Konkan and the Malwa from the Shaka rulers. So we see that Shakas are continuously there and they're everywhere. They are in the western part of India and they are having the clash with post-Mauryan rulers, then with the Gupta rulers again. Okay, so Yajna Satkarni recovered it. Okay, Yajna Satkarni recovered those areas which were defeated or which were captured by Rudradaman I, the Shaka ruler. Now, next is the most important part which can be there in your prelims, which is about the material culture, the art and cultural developments. So, of course, they had a good social life. The Deccan under the Satavahan, it got to see a fusion because it was in the mid of North India and South India. So, the fusion of many northern ingredients came in South. A kind of a mixture happened. Okay, so Satvahans, they did not issue gold coins as the Kushan rulers did. They issued mostly coins of lead. Okay, even today we see lead is there in the coins. I can see one request is there. Ranglal Meena and some other students are also there. They are asking about Hindi language. Guys, there's a good news that we are launching a bilingual channel. Okay, and there we will have English classes. Okay, in which we will have a Desi Tadka in all our topics, and there I'll be teaching everything in Hindi or bilingual language. So it's coming very soon. Okay, we are working on it. The team is working on it, and I'll update you with the same. Just be connected there in the Telegram group, and there you'll get the links. Okay, other students also, if you are even English medium students, sometimes you get more connected to watch the videos in bilingual or English language, and if you feel like having that desi connection, so to get those vibes you can come and watch that particular channel, and that's getting created. That's we are working on it, and very soon I'll be sharing the link, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Okay, so we will be launching it, guys, don't worry. Now, Satvahans, they did not issue gold coins. Can you remember this? It's very important for prelims. They did not issue gold coins. Okay, so this is a point which is unique about them. They also issued potin. Potin is a copper and bronze money. So this is a important term. And just to tell you guys one important part, the today's section, the class which I am taking today, the content is taken from R.S. Sharma. R.S. Sharma is also there in your class 11th old NCERT. So if you need to find the content, you can get it in the R.S. Sharma. As we are having a topic-wise series, I could not find good, good content about Satvahans, Vakatakas, and post-Guptas in new NCERT books. So I had to search it in the old NCERT. There I found it in the R.S. Sharma. So that's why I have taken these chapters from there. So you might not get it in the new NCERT. Don't get confused. However, you don't need to read NCERT because I am following the topic-wise sequence in my lectures. But still, just to make you understand, because you can see the language is quite complex today, isn't it? Because we are having a very standard book. R.S. Sharma is a standard book, right? So because of that, the complexity is there in the language, in the content today, but you can try to understand. I'm trying to make it very simple and easy for you. So basically, potin is a term which can come in your exam. In prelims, they may ask you that what do you mean by potin? So potin is copper and bronze money. Just try to make a note of it. So people of Deccan, they knew the art of paddy cultivation also. So of course they had a surplus agriculture, and they also produced cotton. So according to Pliny was a writer, he saw that the Andhra kingdom, Andhras means Satavahans. Andhra kingdom maintained an army of around infantry, which has a huge amount, right? Lakhs of people were there in the infantry, and the cavalry was also there, in which 2,000 horses were there, 1,000 elephants. So you can see they are having similar kind of army and the kind of positions which Mauryas did. So somehow they learnt a lot from Mauryas, and they tried to maintain those level of army and people in their army, the soldiers. So Satavahans, that's why, expanded a lot. So this, somehow made them grow their own large rural population. They had to sustain themselves, yes. So they have a good security here, you can see. And apparently the peasants produced enough to support this military strength, because I told you that they had paddy cultivation also, they knew about transplantation, they knew about surplus agriculture. Society was doing good. The social organization was having similar features like other social, organization had at that time. So Satavahans originally, they seem to have been a tribe of the Deccan. Okay, so you can see that tribal groups became very powerful sometimes in South India because they had better technology. Like if you remember, I told you about Kalabhras when we were discussing the end of Sangam age. They were also coming from a tribal group only, right? So here Satvahans, when we talk about their origin, so they came from a tribal group. So they seem to have been a tribe of the Deccan, but they were Brahmanized. So can any tribal group be Brahmanized like this? Or what do you mean by Brahmanization? Have you ever read about a term Sanskritization? Tell me, yes or no. Otherwise, I'll explain it to you. Yes, good evening, guys. Good evening. All the PDFs are already uploaded, Krishna. Have you not seen it on Telegram? Guys, you need to like and share the video. I can see that you guys have such a beautiful content, getting it for free, but still you're not supporting me. Just try to create some excitement. Okay. So basically, there is a word, I'll tell you, Sanskritization. Sanskritization is, Sanskriti, right? Sanskriti means getting very good, very nicely when you get civilized, right? When you get some sense of civilization inside you. So Sanskritization is a practice in which even the lower caste people, they follow the practices used or followed by upper caste people. Like if somebody from a tribal group wants to be a Brahman, if he is not Brahman by birth, what he can do, that he will try to, wake up early in the morning, will do the Surya Namaskar, will do all the rituals and things, will do all the worship and elaborated things, whatever Brahmins used to do at that time, will read about Vedas, Purans, or whatever literature available to him, and then he will try to learn new things. So after gaining those knowledge, after understanding the reality of Vedas, the reality of Purans, after reading epics and having so many knowledges, then he will be a very learned man. He will be a very knowledgeable person, right? He will also start implementing those knowledge. He will discuss it. He will teach other people. He will preach other people, and he will try to execute it in his own lifestyle. He will improve his own lifestyle. He will be more hygienic now. So by improving the hygiene, improving the lifestyle, doing these changes in the lifestyle, learning new things, especially Vedas, talking in Sanskrit, using Sanskrit language, writing in Sanskrit, and being a person who is very much equivalent to a Brahman, okay, will make him a Brahman. So this is Brahmanism or Brahmanization by following the path of Sanskritization. So Sanskritization is a path where you develop your lifestyle in such a way that you improve your varna, you improve your own self. Maybe it's not by birth, but you did it by your karma. Okay, so this is Sanskritization. Many of people, they do it. Okay, sometimes I can see that in society it's very common to see that people from upper caste are maybe not very knowledgeable, not following that sense of hygiene, eating non-veg. So then they can't claim to be the real Brahmins, right? But people who are still following those hygienic things, public and personal hygiene, and following the good culture, being a nice person, and reading about the books, learning new things, they are the pure Brahmins, right? So this kind of Sanskritization got started in India, and basically here also it is said that these tribal groups, they got Brahmanized, so they now became Brahman. Okay, and their most famous king, who was Gautami Putra Satkarni, he used to claim that he was so knowledgeable that he is the only Brahman. Okay, and he claims to have established the fourfold Varna system which had fallen into disorder. He said that I will again try to follow that order. I will be the only Brahman because I have all the knowledge, I have understood everything, and I will implement all those rules which people forgot now, which people are not following anymore. So I will bring that order back again. Why this order was broken? Because of the rise of other religions in India, and due to so many invasions also. Clear? Now, Satavahan rulers called themselves Brahmins, but I told you that they were coming from a tribal group in the Deccan India. They got Brahmanized. Now, Satvahans, they show traces of matrilineal social structure, which means that they were not following the social structure where patriarchy is followed, or the patrilineal. What is patrilineal? Let's say if I ask you your name, so you must be having a surname. Most probably the surname is your father's surname also, and he got it from his own father, right? So this culture of following the surname from the father and taking it from the father's family is patrilineal, right? So where the male, male dominating society is there, but here you will see that Satavahans, they followed matrilineal social structure. They gave more importance to their mother, and they used to follow the surname of the mother also. So they used to use the name of mother with their own name. So in their society, mother enjoyed great deal of importance. And it was customary for their king to be named after his mother, like Gautami Putra Satkarni. Gautami Putra is the name of his mother, or Vishishta Putra, name of mother. Clear? So in this way, they started using the name of mother with their name. Okay. When we talk about the pattern of administration, king was represented as the upholder of dharma. So he was at the top. Of course, in many of the polity generally at that time, we saw this. So their district was called Ahar. So Satavahan's district, they were known as Ahar, and administrative units were found similar to those which were there in the Ashokan times. As I told you that they came in the post-Mauryan time, so they had the example of Mauryas. Their officials were known as Amatyas. It is also similar to the Mauryas. Mauryas also had Amatyas, and they had Mahamantras also. So yes, of course, it is again very similar, Amatyas, Mahamantri, and there were certain military and feudal traits in the administration of the Satavahan. Like Senapati was also there, who was the provincial governor and sometimes also leading the army. Okay, Golmika, he was the administrator in the rural areas. The military character of Satavahan rule is very evident from the common use of such terms like Katak or Skandhavarars in their inscription. So they used to have their terms like Katak and Skandhavaras in their inscription. Just remember that some military characters were there in the Satavahans, and they were using these kind of names. Now, Satavahans, they started the practice of granting tax-free villages. This is very, very important. Okay, so this is a practice to give the land grants to the Brahmins, which is known as Brahmadaya. So Brahmadaya, the system of Brahmadaya, was started by Satavahans, and they also gave land grants to the Buddhist monks, and they never used to collect tax from it. So there, these areas therefore became small independent islands within the Satavahan kingdoms, in which these Buddhist monks and Brahmins used to maintain their villages, and they used to have their own tradition and culture which used to go on. Three grades of feudatories were there in the Satavahan rule. First was the king, who who was known as Raja. So he was the highest grade who had the right to strike coins. Okay. Then second was Mahabhoj. He is the second person after the king who is very important. And third was Senapati, third grade. Senapati is the commander in chief of the army. So this way they had to maintain everything. And the religion was also going fine, as they were known as Brahmins. They called themselves Brahmins. So they, represented the Brahman culture. They used to show the triumph of Brahmanism everywhere. Kings and queens, they performed Vedic sacrifices, yagyas, and all those elaborated rituals which Brahman used to do. They also worshipped a large number of Vaishnava gods, which is important for you to remember. Okay. Now, after this, it is seen that they are very tolerant. All the ancient rulers, maximum of them, they all are tolerant. Okay. So this is a point which you should remember, that the rulers were generally very tolerant at that time. They, used to respect other sects, other religions. So yes, they promoted Buddhism also. They promoted the Jainism also. They gave land grants to the monks also. So in their kingdom, Mahayana form of Buddhism, very important. Mahayana form of Buddhism, which came after Ashoka, became very important, and it commanded considerable following. Many people followed it. So Mahayana Buddhism saw a very immense rise in the time of Satavahan rule. Okay. Then Nagarjun Konda, this is a place, and Amravati in Andhra Pradesh. In these two areas, in Andhra Pradesh, it became important seat of Buddhism culture under Satavahans, and under their successors also, it continued to be the center for the culture. And after them, you will see Ikshvakus will come, and they will rule for a small period of time. If you compare it with Satavahans, they ruled, but not very important. We will read about Ishkavakus also, but just one small paragraph about them will be enough. So basically, Ikshvakus also maintained the cultural tradition of Nagarjun Konda and Amravati. I told you about Amravati School of Art. When we saw the rise of Mathura School of Art, Gandhar School of Art, there in South India, we saw the rise of Amravati School of Art. Satvahans gave the patronage to Amravati School of Art, where white marble was used. Okay, white marble was used. There is one question by Anna, that why they chose to be Brahmanized themselves. Do you, agree to see that a tribal man, even if he is so powerful, will he be allowed to rule the society which is a mainstream society? No. To legitimize your position in the society, to be a king, to be a ruler, and to collect the taxes from the people, to maintain such a huge army, you need to legitimize your position. And a society which follows Varna system and caste system so strictly, in that particular situation, it's very hard for a tribal person to come and rule in a mainstream society. So they need to get adapted according to the mainstream society. They need to follow the culture, traditions, values as per the mainstream society. That's why they Brahmanize themselves. Clear? I hope your doubt is clear. Fine. Now next is architecture. This is important for prelims. So architecture, basically they used to give a lot of liberal donations for art and cultural development. We saw the rise of many chaityas, prayer halls and monasteries. They were cut out of the solid rock in the northwestern and the Maharashtra area, the Deccan area. And the two more common religious constructions were there, chaityas and viharas. So chaitya is the Buddhist temple, which is a large hall with number of columns like this. You can see this is one example of chaitya. This is the chaitya of Karle. And vihars were monastery in which monks used to reside, and mostly in the rainy season, because apart from the rainy season, they were not allowed to stop. They had to move continuously throughout the year, but during the rainy season they were allowed. If we talk about the rock cut architecture, it is also found in the Andhras, in the Andhra Pradesh area, in the Krishna Godavari region. So there we found many stupas, and the most famous is the Amaravati stupa and Amaravati School of Art. You can see this one. Women worship the Buddha footprint. This is from Amaravati. This is Nagarjun Konda, the first sermon of Buddha in the Deccan area. Okay, basically in north it was Sarnath, but in south Nagarjun Konda. This is the Sanchi Stupa, okay, which is having a large round structure. So yes, these kind of art and cultural developments were there. Nagarjun Konda as a place, it prospered most in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. Why? Because it contains not only Buddhist monuments but also the earliest Brahmanical brick temples. And when you talk about stupas, there are few parts of stupas which I have already discussed with you, but still just try to remember the parts here. You can see this part, this fencing is the enclosure wall. Okay, this is the fencing, this is the boundary wall basically. And then this is the gate, which is Toran, okay, from where you can enter the stupa. This is the semicircle, which is Anda, which shows the earth, the fertility of the earth. And then the above part is having a jali like structure. This is Harmika. The topmost part is known as Chhatra. Okay, so these are the parts of stupa, and this is Medhi, which is the supporting veranda, where you can have a pathway to walk around the stupa, and that is for the pradakshina. So that's why it's also known as pradakshina path or a walkway. Okay, so people at this particular time, Satvahans, they had a language, and the official language was Prakrit. So they used to follow the language followed by the common public. All inscriptions were composed in this language only, and it was written in Brahmi script, as was the case in Ashokan times also. So they were following the Brahmi script and Prakrit language. Some Satavahan kings may have composed Prakrit book also. Like we have few examples: Gatha Sattasai or Gatha Saptasai, Gatha Saptasati. So this particular book is there, which is composed in the Prakrita language by Satvahans. It is a Prakrita text which is attributed to a Satavahan king whose name was Hala. Very important king, and important for your prelims, important for his art and cultural contributions. Okay, so King Hala, remember the name. He was a Satavahan king who wrote the book Gatha Sattasai or Gatha Sattasai, whatever it is. Okay, now what happened that after this Satavahan empire, Vakatakas came. Okay, they replaced it, and then with Vakatakas we saw the emergence of many new states in India. So the formation of new states and rural expansion happened in the peninsula. So basically this is here Nagarjun Konda. Let me just mark it from the red color. Nagarjun Konda is here. You can see this is Aihole, which became the capital later. This is Badami, which is again a capital of Chalukyas. We will discuss it. This is Kanchi, also known as Kanchipuram. Okay, this is Mahabalipuram here. We have a very important temple in Mahabalipuram area. This is Kaveri Pattanam. Madurai is here, and Urayur is here, very important. And Vengi is again very important, because we will discuss Vengi. Now we are coming to the South Indian kingdoms, so that's why all these locations are important. So whenever I discuss Vengi with you, you should have the mindset that where is Vengi. You should have this, idea. Then we have Ajanta and Ellora caves here. Bombay was here at that time. Okay, this is the river Godavari. So let's talk about these areas and the important places. This is Pattadakal. Pattadakal was a very important port also. It had many emporiums, very important for trade and commerce. So now what happened that a new phase came. Okay, Satavahans, they emerged over Deccan, but then they were replaced. Okay, so it is the time which is the beginning of 7th century. So in the 7th century, Pallavas of Kanchi, you can see here Kanchi. Okay, Pallavas of Kanchi, they started rising. Okay, Then Chalukyas of Badami, you can see Badami here. Chalukyas of Badami also started rising. Pandyas of Madurai, they also became important. So these were the three major states in the 7th century. I hope you will remember this. Easy to remember. We are discussing the post-Gupta period now. We are trying to come to the post-Gupta. Why I connected with Satavahans? Because Satavahans were replaced by Vakataks. Vakataks are there in the post-Gupta. But if I will directly teach you that, okay, Vakataks came and they replaced Satavahans and they started ruling, then there will be a question in your mind that who were Satavahans and how they came, how they were replaced. So to have that clarity, I connected it from there. Now you know that in the 7th century, when we will see the rise of Vakataks, at that time we had some other states also, like Pallavas of Kanchi, Chalukyas of Badami, Pandyas of Madurai. So the period also witnessed the expansion of agrarian economy. Why? Because irrigational changes were happening. Many dams and embankments were getting constructed. And also in this particular phase, Brahmanism got a new level of development. A lot of temple architecture got development. Construction of stone temple for Shiva, Vishnu, it got started under Pallavas. So Pallavas started the temple architecture in South India. In North India, Gupta started it, but in South India, Pallavas started it. Now, as I told you, this is the same area where Satavahans used to rule, isn't it? Can you see it? Now Vakataks came in the same place. Okay, so when we talk about the states of Deccan and the South India, in the northern Maharashtra or Vidarbha area, which is in Berar, Satavahans were succeeded by new rulers, Vakataks. Vakataks were a local power. Sometimes it is said that Vakataks were the feudatories of Satavahan. Feudatory means Samant. I hope you know about feudalism. Do you want me to explain feudalism? Or if you know, tell me what is feudalism in the comment box. One thing is there that Sri Lakshmi, you wrote about Kanchipuram Sadi. Just understand that is Kanjivaram. Okay, Kanchipuram is a name of place. Kanjivaram is the sari. It's the textile. Okay, so the spelling mistake can be there in your exam also. Just try to look into this particular thing. Basically, feudalism, just try to understand it in short. Let's say there is a big king. Okay, or above a king there can be an emperor, right? You know that empire is bigger than the kingdom, right? So emperors sometimes they used to take tributes from small kingdoms. They used to ask these small kings to rule in their own area, or sometimes they were small governors, or they had to just maintain the kingdom. So king had a big area. So of course king will have many states to rule, right? He is having so much of responsibility to collect the taxes, to maintain the army, to maintain the law and order, to give the services to people, and to fight the battles also, right? So with so many responsibilities, alone king can not take care of everything. It's not possible for anyone to keep everything in your own hand. So what this king will decide, that I can divide my states and can give permission to my governors or some other leaders to take care of my states in behalf of me. So what king will do, in the states he will keep some feudal lords. Feudal lords, or in Hindi you can call it Samant. This is also known as Samantavadi Vyavastha, feudalism. It was also there in Europe. When we will read world history, we will repeat the same topic, feudalism again. But there is a difference between European feudalism and Indian feudalism. European feudalism is more strict. Okay, there are more complexities. We will read it in the world history. Let's leave it now. Right now, let's understand the Indian feudalism. So Samant, the feudal lord here, he will have a small state under his control or a small area. So he will have some responsibilities to maintain the law and order, keep a small army, small standing army with him, where he can, uh, just keep a check on crime, and of course he needs to collect the taxes, so he needs to keep some security with him, right? So of course he will keep a small standing army with him. Then he will collect the taxes. He will also maintain the law and order. Even he will try to implement few services and give few services to people. But don't you think that this feudal lord, this Samant, in his own small state, who is ruling in behalf of this king, okay, can become a small king in his own area by himself? He can also be a small king. No, this Samant is like a small king who is ruling in behalf of a bigger king. Okay, doing all those things, all those responsibilities, and ensuring everything which a king should do. So he is doing the same in his own small area. So he is like a small king of his own area, right? So for his own area, in this particular state, there who like all the farmers, people, everyone, they will always see this Samant as their king. They might not meet this real king in their entire life. Like, you know that PM Modi is your prime minister, but it's very hard for you to meet PM Modi. But if you try to meet the MLA of your own area, it might be possible for you. You can visit the office. You can see your, area MLA coming in your community center for small functions, sometimes to cut a ribbon, sometimes to do some, other activities, or to address the public gathering. So it's very easy to meet or see the area MLA. Okay. But it's very hard to meet and see PM Modi. But you know that real king is Modi. Real king is there. But still, in this small area, people will follow the rules and regulations and things as per the ideas given by the feudal lords. So, feudal lord will be a very powerful person in his small state, in his own small area. Now, what will be problem here, that this person who is now very powerful, will he try to replace the king? Or can he try to replace the king? Do you think so? He is ruling in behalf of the king. But in case of a bad situation, where he will see that the king is a very weak successor, he is having no more sons, or there is no friend of king, there is so much of family dispute in the king's home. If he knows the secret of the king, if he knows the secret of the army, he can plan to attack the king. And many times in our ancient history and medieval history, we saw that feudal lords replaced the king and became kings themselves. Okay, they killed kings and they usurped the throne. It happened many times. Okay, like Danti Durga. We will discuss Cholas, Chalukyas, and other rulers. It happened very commonly in South India. South Indian kingdoms, they had this kind of setting, and in many of the situations, the next ruler who replaced the dynasty was a feudal lord. So he used to be a feudal lord. He used to serve the king, maintain the army, and this army maintenance was also done to help the king only. So that if king goes to a big war or a battle, he could ask the feudal lord to send the army, which is maintained by the feudal lord in his small kingdom. So king will have the support. So in this situation, it's a decentralized system of polity. This is good for a kingdom. It's good for the maintenance. But the problem is that king needs to control also. So if king will lose the control, he will lose his empire. Sometimes these lords also had fight and clashes among themselves, and they used to do, they used to capture the land or the area of their neighboring feudal lord. so that they become a bigger Samant or a bigger feudal lord. So they also used to expand like this to increase their power. Now, what is the problem in this feudal system? In this feudalism, the problem was the suffering of peasant, suffering of the common man. Why? Because farmers, they had to follow everything as per the idea of king. Okay, so farmers used to give taxes to the feudal lords. Sometimes these feudal lords, they could not invest a lot for the development of agricultural land. It is a kind of zamindari system, you can say. So there, these feudal lords, they sometimes exploited farmers a lot, and they also intervene in their personal matters. If you will watch old Bollywood movies, there you will find that some feudal lords used to be there, and if if someone had to decide for the marriage of her daughter or his daughter, what they used to do, they used to ask the permission from the feudal lord that we want to do this. Are we allowed to make this kind of ceremony? Are we allowed to celebrate this day? Are we allowed to have this kind of marriage or a system? So they had to take permission from this Samant for each and everything. In this feudal system, people had to suffer a lot, okay, because they remained poor. The society, had some backwardness, and the mindset was not growing because they were controlled by this feudal lord. This is known as feudalism or Samantavadi Vyavastha in Hindi. Okay, so we will discuss more about feudalism when we will come to the medieval history, because feudalism will be more complex in the later stages. It will be more exploitative, so that exploitation will increase with time. Now, just come back to the topic. We were discussing about Vakatakas. Okay, so Vakatakas, basically they were a local power. It is said that they were the feudal lords. They used to work under Satavahans, and then they replaced Satavahans. So Vakatakas, they were the Brahmins, and they issued large grants to the Brahmins. Okay, and they performed numerous Vedic sacrifices. They became the channel for transmitting Brahminical ideas and social institutions to South. So in the South India, all those North Indian elaborated rituals passed from the Vakatakas. Okay, so Vakatakas, they were also doing the same thing like Satvahans did. Then after Vakatakas, we saw the rise of Chalukyas of Badami. Basically, we have Chalukyas here. I have already shown you this in the map. This is Badami. Okay, so here in the Badami area we had Chalukyas. So Chalukyas used to rule in this place. They will later expand and they will capture the area of Vengi also, and they will then divide the part into the two different eastern and western sides. So there will be eastern Chalukyas and western Chalukyas later. Okay, we will discuss Chalukyas later. I'll have a different chapter for Chalukyas for you. I have a chapter for Pallavas, then for Chalukyas and Rashtrakutas we will have a different chapter. So specifically we will discuss these kingdoms separately in separate lectures. Don't worry. But right now what we are discussing, post-Gupta period. So you need to see the rise of some new kingdoms, like how they started, how the origin happened, how we got to see the transition to the early medieval India. So that's why we are learning about these small kingdoms. Separately we will discuss them in their own lectures also. Now Chalukyas were there ruling in the Badami. They were overthrown by their own feudatories, the Rashtrakutas. So Chalukyas also got replaced by their own feudal lords. Rashtrakutas, who used to work under them, replaced Chalukyas later in the medieval India. So when we will discuss medieval Indian history next week, then we will discuss the rise of Rashtrakutas. For as of now, just remember that Chalukyas were there who ruled from Badami. They were replaced by Rashtrakutas later. Okay, rest of the part and details will come in the next class. So Chalukyas, basically they used to claim that their descent is from Brahman, and or they used to say that we are Brahman from moon, okay, or Manu. So they used to say Brahman from moon, Chalukyas. And their kingdom was established in the beginning of 6th century AD in the western Deccan, and they took the Badami as their capital. They established their capital as in the Vatapi area. Vatapi is also known as Badami. So remember that Vatapi and Badami are same. Okay, Vatapi is the modern Badami. Don't get confused. So sometimes in the exam also they may write Vatapi instead of Badami. Don't get confused. Vatapi is the modern Badami. Okay, so in the district of Bijapur, they started their capital Vatapi, and they started the kingdom like this, Chalukyas. They had the expansion, they had clashes with Pallavas also, they had so many fights and battles with Pallavas. So the part of Badami is in the Karnataka area today, and we will see the details of Chalukyas when we will come to the chapter of Chalukyas. Okay, then I told you about Ikshvakus. If you remember, Ikshvakus, they also started a rise, and it was on the ruins of Satavahan power. You can see here a very small area. This is here in the map. Look at this map here. They ruled from 227 AD to 306 AD. So for a small period in a small area they ruled, but later this area will be captured by Pallavas, and Pallavas will merge it in their own empire, and then Pallavas will have the clash with the other Chalukyan powers. So just understand that Ikshvakus were also there. So Ikshvakus, they got to see the rise in the eastern part of peninsula, and the part which is Krishna Guntur region. Okay, this is an area where a lot of chili farming happens. Okay, so for chili farming, this area is very famous, red chili farming. Okay, so they started the practice of land grants in the Krishna Guntur region, where several of their copper plate inscriptions have been discovered. That's why they are very, very important. Okay. Now, after Ikshvakus, we will see the rise of other rulers like Pallavas. So now Pallavas came. Pallavas, they captured the part of Ikshvakus also. The Ikshvakus were supplanted by Pallavas. Basically, they got captured under the expansion of Pallavas. One more thing here you can see, which is important. You can see Vakatakas and Nagas here. Do you remember Nagas? I discussed Naga rulers with you when we were discussing Guptas, the matrimonial alliances and the wars against Nagas. We discussed it in the last class. So just try to revise it from there. This is the Western Satrap or the Saka Satrap, and they also had clash with Satvahans. Then later we'll have the clash with Guptas also. We have already discussed Shakas. Okay, so you will see Pallavas. Pallavas will be replaced by Cholas in 9th century AD, but right now we are not on the 9th century. We are around 6th and 7th century AD. We are discussing the part of later Gupta period. Okay, so later Gupta period will have Pallavas. Fine. So Pallavas had fight with Chalukyas. Chalukyas will come in this particular part after the Vakatakas. So Pallavas basically, they captured the Ikshvakus area, and the term Pallava means creeper. Okay, and it is a Sanskrit version of the Tamil word Tondai, which also carries the same meaning, creeper. Okay, which creeps and grows. So in the Tamil word Pallava, it is also synonym of a robber, who just try to increase their influence and grow and move like this, right? So basically this kind of system was there. Now next important thing about their extension, their expansion, and their military contributions, which we need to see. So over both southern Andhra and northern Tamil Nadu, their extension was there. They set up their capital at Kanchi, which is identical with modern Kanchipuram. I already have shown this to you in the map. You can see it here. Kanchi. Okay, so Kanchi became a temple town. Temple town, I hope you understand what is a temple town or the town of temples. We have discussed it in the class that we have few towns in India. They got developed, or they are very famous just because of a temple. If you remove that temple from that city, there will be no identity of that city. The entire economy, trade, tourism is dependent on that temple. Okay, so here also in Kanchipuram, temple was there, and Vedic learning center was also there. Okay, the Vedic learning center which was there at the Kanchi or Kanchipuram is known as Ghatika. Ghatika in Kanchipuram was a very great university, We will discuss about Ghatika. Okay, so they granted almost 18 kinds of immunities to the Brahmins. Means if Brahman will commit few small crimes and some things which is not accepted socially, but in 18 cases they will be free, they will be left free. So basically Pallavas had contemporary rulers like Kadambas of the northern Karnataka were there, and they were in the 4th century. After Kadambas, that the rise of Vakatakas and then the rise of Chalukyas happened. So of course they will have fight with everyone. All the rulers who will come in this area will have fight with Pallavas. So boundary dispute will always be there. Basically, Kadamba kingdom was founded by Mayur Sharman, and he performed 18 Ashwamedh Yagya, and this is very important. He also granted many villages to Brahmins as a Brahmadeya. You can see Kadamba here. Banvasi is very important city. Okay. Then we have East Gangas here. You can see, very important. So Banvasi or Vajayanti was the capital of Kadamba in the North Kannada district of Karnataka. Then the Gangas were there. They were also another important contemporary of Pallavas, and they also had fight with Pallavas. They set up their rule in the southern Karnataka around the 4th century. Their kingdom lay between that of the Pallavas in the east and of the Kadambas in the west. You can see this here. Okay, they are known as the Gangas. Don't confuse it with the name of Ganga river. Ganga river is different and the Gangas are different. They are a dynasty Gangas. So Gangas, they are called Western Gangas or Gangas of Mysore in order to demarcate them from the Eastern Ganga. So we had one Gangas here, we had another Gangas here. Okay, so Gangas dynasty, two different Ganga dynasties were there in the south. Okay, Eastern Ganga, Western Ganga. So the Eastern Ganga, they ruled in the Kalinga area, in the Odisha area from the 5th century onwards, and this particular area had the part of the Western Gangas. Okay, so yes, their earliest capital was located at Kolar. Kolar, if you remember, Kolar is having Kolar mines. It is very important for gold. Okay, Ghatika is in Kanchipuram. Slide is already shared in the NCERT group. Guys, see, those who are new in the class, you just click in the description box, go to the link, fill the form, join the group in the Telegram, and there you will get all the PDF, study material, updates of the classes. Your answers will be analyzed there. You can talk to your classmates. You can discuss your doubts there. Okay. Now, just come back to the topic. Kolar is important for the Kolar mines. So, earliest capital was located at Kolar, which may have helped the rise of this dynasty because of its gold mines, because of the economy and resources. They made many land grants again, mostly to Jainas. So they used to support Jainism. Okay, so Pallavas, Kadambas, Chalukyas of Badami and their contemporary rulers, all of them, they were great champions of Vedic sacrifices. They were all following Brahmanical tradition. And they were all making temples. Okay, temple architecture was developed under all of them. They performed Ashwamedh Yagya, Vajpayee Yagya. Okay, and it was to legitimize their position and enhance their prestige in the society, and it was also to increase the income of priestly classes, because they were all following Brahmanism, they were all following the Vedic tradition. Will you remember the sequence? See, sometimes you just need not to follow the dates. Okay, just understand the chronology. You will understand everything. Basically, I told you that after the part of post-Mauryas, in the post-Mauryan time, remember this flowchart, we saw the rise of Satavahans. Okay, Satavahans were replaced by whom? Satavahans were replaced by Vakatakas. Okay, Vakatakas were replaced by Chalukyas. Okay, we will not discuss small kingdoms like Ikshvakus and Gangas, Eastern Ganga, Western Ganga. Forget that. I just told you. so that you don't get confused. When you read it in the book, you should not feel like ma'am skipped this particular session, part in the session, or this chapter of NCERT was not taught to me. I don't want you to have this feeling after watching my classes. That's why I cover each and every small detail. Okay, but everything is not important. Fine, just understand the important kingdoms and their sequence. After Chalukyas, who will come? Rashtrakutas. Clear? Then, in this particular, we are discussing the South Indian kingdoms, right? So these rulers, they were in this particular part, okay, which is the Deccan part, Deccan and Central India. Which covered the part of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and they covered the part of this, Deccan part, Deccan India. Now, if you come to Peninsula, this triangle, okay, which is extreme south, there we had Pallavas, who were replaced by Cholas in 9th century AD, and then the area of Chola will have clash with Rashtrakutas. Okay, so you will see that Chalukyas had fight with Pallavas. Okay, they were contemporary, they were fighting because of territorial disputes. Because see, of course, there will be boundary dispute in this area, right? There will be boundary dispute. I'm making this simple flowchart and simple map for you to understand. Of course, if these two kingdom 1 and kingdom 2, if these two kingdoms are contemporary of each other, they will try to expand and they will fight. And you know that in South India, no invaders came. Why? Because it was not possible to invade South India, because it was all around had water, right? Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal. So nobody could penetrate in South India. Invaders only came in the North India. So South Indian rulers, and in the South India, these kingdoms had fight among themselves only. They needed nobody else. They needed no other invader or foreign power to fight and to have a clash. They already had their own territorial boundary disputes. So in their boundary area, they had fight. So the battles between Chalukyas and Pallavas are very, very important. They will have clash. Who will win in the end? Who will win in the end? Chalukyas or Pallavas? What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Yes, I'm just trying to make you revise and repeat the things so that you have it in your memory. I told you about Ikshvakus. I started with Satavahans, then Vakatakas, Ikshvakus, Western Ganga, Eastern Ganga, and then we discussed about Chalukyas also, Rashtrakutas, Cholas. We will discuss Cheras again. So you might get confused because these are so many South Indian kingdoms. No, that's why I'm making this flowchart for you. Uday, you wrote that British invaded through this water. No, British did not invade. First of all, understand that before Britishers, we saw Portuguese. Okay, so in 1498, Portuguese came. They discovered a new sea route. Okay, so this new discovery of sea route, it got disclosed with other European powers like Dutch, Danes, Britishers, French, and they all came by following this new sea route. They reached the part of Calicut and they started following it in that way. So understand the point here that Britishers didn't invade from the part of South India. No, they just came here to, after discovering the new sea route, to do the trade. Ultimately, they also started their journey from Bengal. Right? I hope you remember Bidhiwani Rights, 1765, starts from Bengal. So after capturing Bengal, only they got the confidence to defeat other powers. Then they had their presidencies in Bengal, Bombay, Madras. We will discuss it when we will come to East India Company. So this is wrong to say that Britishers invaded through this water. No, they just discovered a new sea route, but ultimately to get the political system under their control, they had to again start from the Bengal. Clear? Ultimately, nobody got to win the race. Okay, But we can see that Pallavas in 9th century AD, they were replaced by Cholas. So Cholas were again, they were the feudal lords, they were the feudatories of Pallavas. So they were imperial. That's why the fall of Pallavas happened. Fine. So nobody got to see the entire victory, because winning means what? If I say that Pallavas, they got victory, then Pallavas must have got the entire region till this particular part. But it never happened, right? Chalukyas could not, win in this particular part of South India, and Pallavas could not penetrate in the part of Deccan and the central India, right? The boundary was always maintained, so nobody won in the race. They both were having battles and clashes, fighting, continuous. No result came. Ultimately, what happened? New kingdoms came. In the place of Chalukyas, Rashtrakutas emerged. In the place of Pallavas, Cholas emerged. So, if Chalukyas and Pallavas were padosi, neighbors, padosi की लड़ाई चल रही थी, Chalukyas, Pallavas, they were neighbors, they were fighting. Now, who will be the new neighbors? New neighbors are Rashtrakutas and Cholas. So, will Rashtrakutas and Cholas also fight? Do you think? Yes, they will fight. You will see the clash between Rashtrakutas and Cholas also. Clear? Again, nobody will win, but a continuous fight will be there. Ultimately, in the medieval India, we will see that Rashtrakuta will be a very big power. Okay, they will be the most important and biggest power of South India. But they will be powerful in the medieval India. By that time, they will only have fight, battles and clashes in South Indian kingdoms among themselves. Here, I hope now you understand the chronology of South India. When you read South India, if you don't understand the entire, content of dynasties and so many rulers, and if you get confusion, just do one thing. Just look at the map of South, okay, and divide it into two parts. In the upper part of South India, which is the Deccan, will always have a different dynasty who could not penetrate in this extreme south area. Okay, and in the deep south, which is peninsula, will have a different dynasty. So just understand the sequence of Deccan kingdoms and the deep peninsular kingdoms. Like I wrote it for you here, right? So Satavahans were replaced by Vakatakas, they were replaced by Chalukyas, Chalukyas were replaced by Rashtrakutas. And in the deep south, Pallavas were replaced by Cholas. Okay. Then Cholas will always also be replaced. They will be replaced by the Cheras and the kingdom of Madurai. But that is more detailed. Let's not go into those things right now. We will get to see those details later. Otherwise, it will be very complex for you, because in just one class, so many kingdoms and kings and names will be confusing. Right? For today, just remember this much. Okay, then again I'll make a new flow chart for you in the next class. There we will discuss more. Now, come back to the topic. I was discussing that how, the Gangas were there. Right? So, we saw that Gangas were there, Eastern Gangas and Western Gangas. So, we discussed about these. We discussed about all these rulers. Then, I hope you remember about Kalabhras, who came in the end of Sangam age. Do you remember? We discussed it in the class of Sangam age, right? Yes, we will be coming to it. Now, the Kalabhras. See, basically, I can, guarantee you that you can see any of the lecture, any series, any YouTube or any channel. There is no video where all the South Indian kingdoms are covered in such a brief manner with all the maps. You might need to see many different lectures to get to see this much of understanding. After analyzing so much of details, I have made these slides for you. So just pay attention, because it will save a lot of your time. Because if you will read about all the South Indian kingdoms in the books, you will be very confused, and details are very complex. By just paying attention in this one class, you will have 50% of your South Indian kingdom syllabus covered today itself. So just pay attention. Now Kalabhras. Kalabhras are called the evil rulers, okay, who overthrew innumerable kings. Now why they are known as evil rulers? Because they were again tribals, and they defeated the they just got to see the clash and fight in the Sangam age. They defeated Pallavas of Sangam, and they wanted to capture it, and ultimately they started their rule. Okay, so they holded the position in their Tamil land. Kalabhra held Buddhist persuasions, and they patronized Buddhism. They patronized the Buddhist monasteries also. The Kalabhras, they revolted. The Kalabhra revolt was so widespread that it could be down only through the joint effort of Pandya, Pallavas and Chalukyas. Okay, if you remember, in Sangam age we had 3 important kingdoms. Can you tell me the names? 3 kingdoms of the Sangam age. Tell me, guys. Yes, Chola, Chera, Pandya. Okay, Chola, Chera, Pandya. So they are the same Pandya, right? Pallavas got to see the area which was there under the control of Cholas at that time. Okay, and Chalukyas of Badami also had that part which was under the control of Cheras at that time. So Cholas, Cheras and Pandyas we had. Okay, Pandyas were there in the extreme south, in the Madurai area. So Chola, Chera, Pandya of Sangam age are replaced by Pandya, Pallava, Chalukya of post-Gupta age. Understanding? Let me just write it for you, then you will understand. In Sangam age we had 3 kingdoms: Chola, Chera and Pandya. Okay, Chola, Chera, Pandya. Chola, Chera, Pandyas are now replaced in the post-Gupta period. They are replaced by new kingdoms having similar names, but they are new. New Pandyas, new Pallavas and new Chalukyas. Clear? So now all of them, Pandyas, Pallavas, Chalukyas, they all came together to defeat Kalabhras. Who are Kalabhras? Kalabhras are the tribal groups who revolted in the end of Sangam age, and Kalabhras only defeated the Sangam kingdoms. They only destroyed the Chola, Chera, Pandya. So to again defeat Kalabhra, these 3 kingdoms, Pandya, Pallava, Chalukya, had to come together and make an alliance. Clear? They also imprisoned the Chera, Chola, Pandya kings. Who? Kalabhras. In the end of Sangam age, they imprisoned the Chera, Chola, Pandya kings. Why? Because they wanted to end the Sangam age. They revolted. Their revolt was very big. Clear? So the conflict started when the end of Kalabhras also happened. Now what happened? That now these new kingdoms, the kingdom of Pandya, Pallava, Chalukya, started fighting among themselves. The biggest fight was between Pallava and Chalukya. I told you Pallavas, Chalukyas are neighbors. Pallavas are in the peninsula. Chalukyas are in the central India. C for Chalukya, C for central India. You can remember like this, Deccan part of the India. So the upper South India is having Chalukya Empire. The lower South India is having Pallava. Fine. So now they are Padosi. They are fighting. So over the land which is lying between these 2 kingdoms, which is a very important fertile land, which is the Raichur Doab. And this Doab was between Krishna and Tungbhadra river. So to get this Raichur Doab, to get this land, these 2 kingdoms were fighting. Means Pallavas and Chalukyas are fighting to get what? To get Raichur Doab. I told you Doab means a land between two rivers. So Raichur Doab is a land between Krishna river and Tungabhadra river. I hope you'll remember this. Very important. Let me know if you want me to repeat anything. I know a lot of content is going on, but if you will pay attention, it's very easy to understand. Shankar, you are writing Pandya in south area, Chalukya, Chora, not south thing. No, Chalukyas and Cholas are also South Indian kingdoms. Okay, understand that Pandyas, Cholas, Chalukya, all of them are in South India. Some of them are in upper area, some are in the lower area. Clear? Now come back to the topic. Basically, the first important event in this long conflict took place in the reign of Pulakeshin II. If you remember, I told you that Pulakeshin II was a great ruler and he had fight with Harshavardhan also. Tomorrow we will discuss Harshavardhan. He is the last ruler of ancient India. Last. Then ancient India will finish. Tomorrow we will have the last class of ancient history. Okay. So Harshavardhan we will discuss. Basically Harshavardhan, when he captured all the North Indian parts, then he wanted to cross the Narmada river. After crossing Narmada river, he penetrated in South India. So when he came to South India, he had to fight with the Chalukyan king Pulakeshin II, where Harshavardhan got defeated by Pulakeshin. Okay. After which Pulakeshin II took a title known as Parmeshwara. Fine, we will discuss it tomorrow. Now let's come back to the topic. The most famous Chalukya king is Pulakeshin II. He, had many battles with the Pallavas. Then how do we know about Pulakeshin II? We have one inscription in Aihole. I have shown this in the map to you. I hope you remember. Aihole inscription. It says about it was written by the court poet Ravi Kirti. Whose court poet, can you tell me? Whose court poet? Ravi Kirti was the court poet of Pulakeshin II, right? Pulakeshin II. So the inscription is an example of poetic excellence reached in Sanskrit. Okay, and he subjugated the Kadamba capital. He controlled the Banavasi area. I hope you remember Kadambas, right? So Kadamba capital was taken by him, and he compelled the Gangas of Mysore to acknowledge his suzerainty. Gangas, two Ganga dynasties were there, Eastern Gangas, Western Gangas, right? So of course the Ganga of Mysore acknowledged the superiority of Pulakeshin II. Pulakeshin II also captured the Kadamba area, Banavasi. Okay, he also defeated Harsha's army, as I told you, on the banks of Narmada and stopped his expansion towards the Deccan India. In his conflict with Pallavas, he almost reached the Pallava capital. There was a time when he captured the home of Pallavas, the capital of Pallavas, but Pallavas purchased peace by ceding their northern provinces to Pulakeshin II. Basically, there was a fight, and Chalukyan king Pulakeshin II was having the victory. He penetrated in the capital. So Pallava said, okay, no, let's not fight, and we will give you the northern part of our kingdom. So the northern part, the northern territory of Pallavas was given to the Pulakeshin II. But don't worry, there will be a revenge. After this, new Pallava king will come, Narasimhavarman, and he will take the revenge. We will discuss about the battles and revenge, but for as of now, just remember, the northern provinces to Pulakeshin II was given, and the province of Vengi, which is the region between Krishna and Godavari, was also given to the Pulakeshin II by Pallavas because they were defeated. Do you want to see the Vengi again? Let's see. Vengi, I have already discussed this with you. I showed you this in the map, but let me just show this again to you. This is Vengi. This is Kanchi. This is Badami. This is Aihole. Okay. So Vengi was given to Chalukyas by Pallavas. So Pallavas had a big area with them. Pallavas gave the northern part of their kingdom to Chalukyas after getting defeated by Pulakeshin II. Clear? I hope this map makes it clear for you. Fine. Now, we have completed this map, and the Mysore of Gangas, again, let's see this in the map again so that you remember. This is the East Ganga who ruled in the area of Odisha. These are the Kadambas of Banvasi. They were defeated by Pulakeshin II. Pulakeshin II took this area also. Okay, and Pulakeshin II also took this area. These are the Gangas of Mysore who used to accept the suzerainty of Pulakeshin II, and they used to pay tributes to Pulakeshin II. Then after getting this, Pulakeshin II became very confident. He invaded again in the Pallava kingdom, but his second invasion was a failure, and again you will see that Pallavas will take revenge because they gave the northern territory. So they wanted to recover their northern land. No, so their ruler Narsimha, he came and he defeated the Chalukyas, and then he recaptured the northern kingdom or the northern parts of the Pallavas later. So we will have a different chapter for Chalukyas, Pallavas, Cholas. There we will discuss these battles separately again. Now, Pallava king Narasimhavarman, I told you about him. Basically, he will take the revenge. So, Pallava king Narasimhavarman, he occupied the Chalukya capital at Vatapi. He also wanted to take the revenge. So, he also, thought to take the area. So, he thought to, this is Vatapi here in the map, you can see. So, he just wanted to take the revenge because if you remember, I told you that there was a time when Pulakeshin II penetrated in the capital area of Pallavas. So Pallavas also penetrated in the capital area. Okay, so they they in the 642 AD they defeated Pulakeshin II, and Pulakeshin II was probably killed in this fight against the Pallavas. So Pulakeshin II, the great ruler who defeated Harshvardhan, who defeated so many other rulers, who defeated Kadambas, Gangas, everyone, he was killed by whom? Probably by Narasimhavarman. So of course this is a big victory of Narasimhavarman. He will take a title. So he took the title Vatapi Konda. Okay, why? Because Vatapi is the capital of Chalukyas. Vatapi Konda means conqueror of Vatapi. Vatapi ka Raja, Vatapi Konda. Remember this for prelims. I hope now you understood the point. Clear? So later what happened that after this, for a very long time, Narasimhavarman ruled. Pallavas were going fine, but then in 9th century AD, Pallavas were replaced by Cholas. Okay, and then in this area, Rashtrakutas came. So this area, this huge area was captured by Rashtrakutas in 757 AD. So in 757 AD, Rashtrakuta replaced Chalukyas. Clear? Fine. So I hope you're enjoying the discussion of South Indian kingdom. So many South Indian kingdoms we covered, right? A lot of details. Fine. Now some small and easy things we will discuss. Okay, I have already covered all the political history, rulers, kings, kingdoms, all the details are done. Now we will discuss about some art and cultural aspects of these post-Gupta rulers, post-Gupta kingdoms. Fine. So let's write something now. I just want you to write few important keywords. Keep a notebook with you. Start writing from a new page. Put the subheading post-Gupta period. Let me have some water. Are you guys ready? With your pen and paper? Fine. Please write. Art and cultural developments of post-Gupta period. Okay. Few important keywords you need to write. Listen to me. I am giving you these slides, but few important keywords and explanation, if you want, you can have it in your running notes. So basically, Alvar saints were there. Okay. So if you know, Alvars and Nayanars are there. So Alvars used to worship Vishnu and Nayanars used to worship Shiva. You can write if you don't know. Okay, I'm just explaining this to you. So Alvar saints, they were the great devotees of Vishnu, and now they became very popular from the 7th century onwards. After which they started making temples related to Vishnu. And we had one more cult, which was Nayanar, which is the cult of Shiva. So from the 7th century onward, the cult of Bhakti began to dominate in the religious life of the South Indians. Bhakti movement started. So when I say Bhakti, Bhakti or Bhaktism is different, Tantrism is different, and the Bhakti movement, Sufi movement of medieval India is different. Understand? Basically, Bhakti is like a devotion, real devotion to God, where you don't need a middleman to connect you to the God. So you don't need any pandit, you don't need any ritual or a brahman, you don't need to give any donations. You just need to be very good and peaceful at your heart and be very optimistic that God understands everything, God is with you, and God will never do anything wrong with you. And always have a right devotion in your mind about the God, and have a clear, understanding in your mind that I don't need anyone and God will give me whatever I want. So this kind of devotion, pure devotion, was bhakti. Okay. Now what happened that it became very popular in South India, but in few of the states in the eastern part of India and some parts of the Himalayan states, Tantrism got developed. Tantrism is what? Where a lot of tantra, mantra, and things related to superstitious belief, black magic, and these things came up. So a lot of charms and spells were happening. Why? Because people believe that to make the god happy, you need to do some sacrifices. You need to do something extraordinary. Kuch bali chadhana, kuch sacrifice, something like that which will make God amazed, which will be very, surprising to the God, that God will be impressed by you. So to impress God, Tantrism also came in India. But in 11th century, 11th and 12th century AD, Sufism entered in India. Before this, Islam already entered. So when Islam entered, people were not having any bhakti movement. Bhakti was there, but the movement was not there. But when Sufism came, with that, bhakti movement came. So in 7th century AD, the rise of Islam happened and Islam came to India. In 712 AD, it started penetrated because 712 AD is the time when the Arab conquest of Sindh happened. So from Sindh, Islam entered in India. By the time of 11th century, many Islamic kingdoms, rulers, and domination started in India, and there will be the rise of Delhi Sultanate also. So when Islam was growing in India, there was a liberal arm of Islam which is known as Sufism, which also got developed. So people got more attached to Sufism. Why? Because Sufi saints, they were very simple and tolerant. They used to follow inner, peace, and they used to say that don't follow some extraordinary rituals to impress the god. It's important to improve your inner self. So people started liking these ideas. Like even right now, when I'm saying this to you, that having a calmness in your mind, doing meditation, practicing a good life, a tolerant life, being good with everyone, good moral conduct, it sounds very nice, right? it sounds very good. It gives you a right vibe. You feel connected to it. People started connected with Sufism more than Islam. Islam was more extreme, but Sufism is a liberal arm of the Islam. People started following it. When people started following Sufism and when such a high level of influence in the society came, then the revival of Brahmanism happened again. If you remember, same thing happened after the decline of Buddhism, Jainism in India in the ancient times. The history repeats again. When Sufism came, this time decline is not happening. This time rise of Sufism is happening. So it's like, the kids, when they even if they don't like to play with their own toys, but when they see that other kids are playing with their toys, they become very impatient. Like they behave in a very ignorant way that no, this is mine, nobody can touch it. Okay, they take it as their own possession. So here also many leaders and spiritual preachers, they thought that they need to improve something, otherwise they will lose all the followers. They had to follow a mid path, they had to follow a easy path, an easy way in which people will be connected and attracted, and they will not uh, break the rules of their own religion, and they will not be converted easily. So to influence the masses, bhakti movement got started. Fine. So I hope now you understand the difference between bhakti, tantricism and the bhakti movement. Movement will come in medieval India, but the idea of bhakti evolved in the ancient India around 7th century AD, which is the post-Gupta period. Clear? Right now there is no movement, there is only bhakti. So the Alvars and the Nayanars, they played a very great part in the propagation of this culture, this culture of Alvar saints, Nayanar saints. Now the Pallava kings, they constructed a number of stone temples in the 7th and 8th century AD. Most famous temple is the Seven Rath temple. Seven Rath temples are found at Mahabalipuram. I have shown this Mahabalipuram in the map. So it was built in the 7th century by Narasimhavarman, the great ruler who killed whom? Do you remember? Pulakeshin II, right? So Narasimhavarman killed Pulakeshin II, who founded the port city of Mahabalipuram, very important, or Mamalapuram, and this city is also famous for the Shore temple. So please write a point here. Famous Pallava king Narasimhavarman built a Seven Rath temple in Mahabalipuram or Mamalapuram in 7th century, and Mahabalipuram is also famous for Shore temple. Okay, basically this entire paragraph is important for your exam. Clear? Fine, I can see no doubts are there. Let's move ahead. You can see this is Pancharath temple at Mahabalipuram. This is Kanchi Kailashnath temple of Kanchipuram. Okay, you can see these kind of temple architectures got developed under the Pallava rule. That's why it's very, very important. Now, next is the Kailashnath temple. As I have just shown this to you, this is the Kailashnath temple of Kanchipuram, very important Shiva temple. So basically the Kailashnath temple was built in the 8th century, and it is another good example of structural temple. What is structural temple? Understand. Basically, when the temple architecture got started in India, we didn't have real structural temple. Initially, simple walls and plain wall temples were there. Later, rock cut temples were developed from the caves, from the rocks, from the monolithic rocks they used to make the temples. Then monolithic Rath temples came. Then Saptarath temple, Pancharath temples, these temples came. After so many years, the structural temple, the real structural temple, having the gate and the shikhar and viman, everything attached to the building with pillars and hall, the real structural temple like these, they got developed. So this is the structural temple. Okay, this is not a rock cut temple, this is not a monolithic temple, it's a structural temple with having a proper structure and shape and size. Clear? Fine. So basically the Chalukya of Badami, they erected numerous temples. As I told you that they were the neighbors of Pallavas, right? So Chalukyas also had their own style. So the Chalukyan style of temple architecture had mixture of North India and South India. You can write it if you want. Chalukyas in their temple architecture followed a hybrid style by mixing North Indian and South Indian temple architecture styles. So in the Chalukyas, in their part of Badami, they made many temples, and there were temples at Aihole about 610 AD. The Aihole temple was made. Aihole contains around 70 temples, and the temple walls are adorned with beautiful pieces of sculptures representing the scene from the Ramayana. So at that time, the scenes from Ramayana and Mahabharats and these epics were taken, and they were used as a mural painting in the temple walls, or sometimes as a sculpture in the temple walls to decorate it more. This decoration of making the idols of sculptures, of animals and human figures, will decline in the medieval times, because in Islam there is no idol worship. So in the Islamic architectures we don't have any sculptures. Fine, but we have sculptures here. Pattadakal, I have shown you Pattadakal. It was a very important coastal area. So it also had 10 temples which were built in 7th to 8th century, like Virupaksha temple at Hampi. The temple walls, they again represent the scene of Ramayana. As you can see here, this is the Virupaksha temple, very, very important, very big and very well constructed. Now, if we talk about the social structure, basically in the post-Gupta period, we saw rise of all the South Indian kingdom, and of course the nature of burden was imposed on agrarian community. Why the burden came to the agrarian community? Tell me. I told you the reason, which is feudalism, right? So feudalism was there, and king also, used to take some forced labor, which is known as vishti. So king also entitled to forced labor, vishti. So people used to give tributes, gifts, and taxes, vishti, to the king. The demands were covered by almost 18 types of immunities which were granted by Brahmins. So yes, Brahmins, they used to say that, okay, if you want this kind of tax from the people to legitimize your position, you should give us this kind of immunity. Okay, like we should have this level of control in the society. So Brahmins, by legitimizing their position, they increase their demands. Okay, so ultimately the burden came on the peasants. So society was dominated by the princes and the priests. So people who were having high positions and power, they were more dominating, and in this phase priests gained in influence and authority because of the land grants. Each and every South Indian kingdom, they used to give the Brahma there, and if the peasant and artisan caste failed to produce and render the services to give the payment, it was looked upon as a departure from the establishment of dharma or norm. So they had to follow the dharma. These peasants, these artisans, it was their dharma to fulfill the demands and the needs and the services to these Brahmins. This kind of situation was there, and this situation was described as the age of Kali. Okay, where they say that Kali Yuga, people are not really helping each other, they are trying to exploit each other. So it was the duty of the king to restore the peace again, to restore the order again, which was sometimes, working in the favor of chiefs and priests only. King used to go in the favor of chiefs and priests because king knew that to legitimize my position to collect the taxes, I need these people. The title Dharma Maharaj, Dharma Adhiraj, these kind of titles were taken. Therefore, it is adopted by the Vakatak kings, Pallavas, Kadambas, Western Ganga, all the kings. Okay, they took the title Dharma Maharaj, Dharma Adhiraj, like upholder of Dharma. Dharma Maharaj means upholder of Dharma. So they used to say that we are the upholder of Dharma. That's it. Now, in the next lecture, which is lecture number 15, we will start it tomorrow. There we will discuss the topic of Harshvardhan. Okay. So there Harshvardhan is coming. Tomorrow we will do it. Now I'll take your doubts. If you have any questions, please let me know. And if you want to have any details, or if you're confused among any of the South Indian kingdoms or rulers, please let me know. We can discuss it right now. Or if you have any other doubt related to other topics, other books, whatever, you can let me know. We can discuss it. We have time, so I can discuss your doubts now. I hope you have written all these keywords which I have marked for you. Those having no more doubts can leave the session here. Students are having students those are having doubt can talk to me and can discuss their problems. Okay. There is a question, what is feudalism? Basically, I discussed it in very detail. I'll discuss it again, don't worry. Harshal, there is question that, ma'am, is there any possibility of questions on reforms or comparison in between post-Gupta and Gupta period? Yes, of course, there is possibility of everything. You know that it's very unpredictable exam, right? So it's better to keep everything intact with you. Okay. So now let's come back to the question. There is one doubt from the Uday. Uday, you asked about feudalism. I'll discuss it again. Then I can see no more doubts are there. There is one student asking me to increase the speed. I can do that, but I thought the topic is quite complex. That's why I was moving very slow today. No problem. Let's come to the discussion again. I'll discuss feudalism again and then I'll come to other doubts. Okay. So, feudalism, as I told you, basically it is a concept where a big king is there. He is having a big empire or a big kingdom. So, to run the kingdom in a better way, he will divide the kingdom into different small states. And he will keep one feudal lord in every area or in every state. So the feudal lord is also like a small king in his own area, who is ruling in behalf of the main king, who is the main king at the upper level. Now this feudal lord in his area had the responsibility to maintain the law and order and to collect the taxes, also to maintain a standing army. So these things were there. Basically what happened that these feudal lords, sometimes when they saw that the successor is very weak or the king is not doing well, or is if some kind of revolt is happening against him or some family disputes were there, in the weak situations, sometimes these feudal lords, they used to replace the king. They revolted against the king and they became independent. Okay. However, in this feudalism, in this Samantavadi system, in this feudal system, the problem and the burden came on the farmers. Why? Because even for their personal decisions, in their personal life, the interference was there by the feudal lord. Feudal lord used to decide about their culture, their family, their system, their relationships, everything. Like these farmers and the common people had to follow the law, the order, the rules, regulations made by the feudal lord blindly. In this system, feudal lords used to control the society, where society became very backward. Society could not grow due to this feudalism. Okay. Similar situation happened in Europe also. In Europe also there was feudalism, where these feudal lords, feudal fiefs were there, and they also had to keep a standing army with them. and they also used to assist the king in their day-to-day administration, but ultimately they controlled the society in such a bad way that they started exploiting farmers a lot, and that's why the decline happened in European society, and ultimately people got fed up of it and they started a new nation system. Okay, so we will come to the world history, there we will discuss the feudalism of Europe also. Right now, I hope it is clear to you that how the feudalism was growing in India. Feudalism got started in post-Mauryan period. It became very rigid and complex in the post-Gupta period. Okay, the rigidity of feudalism will only increase. These feudal lords will only try to control the economy as per their own way. Sometimes they were very exploitative. Clear? Next question is by feudalist slide. I can't show you that slide. I made it a flow chart on the spot. Okay, so we don't have that kind of setting where when I write something on the board, those annotations they disappear if I change the slide. So we can't bring back that slide again. When I make the flow chart and if I write something, that's why I ask you to make the running notes. Okay, no worries, I hope now you understood, but in case you want you can rewind the video and watch it, because the live sessions are always recorded on YouTube. Okay, now next question is by Vignesh. Ma'am, please share some MCQs related to post Gupta. I am planning to start a new series which is NCERT through MCQ. Why I am not keeping MCQs? No, because so many MCQs and details are there. It may become very boring in the class because we are following a topic wise series right now. So that's why that the class are too lengthy. We don't get time to discuss a lot of things. That's why I have kept it very slow, and I am thinking that once we finish this particular series or once we do the ancient history, then we can have a separate series or a separate class where we will discuss NCERT through MCQs. There all the MCQs topic wise I will discuss. So it will be like a different way of revision, and that will be covered in a revision way. So for detailed notes you can watch this series, and for MCQs the separate series will be there. So that's why I'm not adding it right now. Let me know if you like this idea. This is my plan, but if you want any changes you guys can tell me. Next is Arvind, you asked that Kalabhras they practiced Buddhism or Jainism. Kalabhras basically they practiced they practiced Jainism, and they used to give a lot of donations to Jain monasteries. Then Rai Thakur, you are asking about history is difficult, how to love this subject. Basically, see, history, you can only love this subject, you can only like it if you will understand it. It's never interesting if you don't understand. And the problem is, I understand, I know that why you guys sometimes don't like it. It is because of the NCERT. It is the mistake of NCERT. And I am openly saying this that all those people who wrote it, the way they maintain the chronology in the chapter is very confusing. See, right now I'm making it topic wise for you, so you have all the details in one slide in one class. That's why it's sometimes understandable for you. You get some interest, you have some logic to get to see the topics names and details, right? But the problem is that in NCERT, if you read history, they fluctuate their topics, they don't follow any order, they have no idea of maintaining and completing something. Like if they start a topic in 6th class, they are ending it in 12th class. So just imagine a student in school, who is reading about Harappan civilization in 6th class NCERT. Till the time he will reach his class 12th, he will not understand the end and decline of Harappa, because the starting and the city development, the city life is given in class 6th NCERT, but the end of the Harappan civilization is written in class 12th NCERT. How confusing it is. So for 6 years that student is confused, because students, these small kids, they don't have this much of patience or you know researching tendency to search everything on Google. Every student is not curious. If we talk about the weak students or the average students who are not much interested in studies, what will they do? They will just ignore the topic, and then they will start hating the subject, because they will think that there is a point which is started but there is no end in the book, and then they suddenly jump to a new dynasty. Inside that dynasty, they give the example of some other ruler which is from any other empire. So mixing of these topics, it made NCERT very very difficult to understand and not very up to the mark. There are many details which are missing in NCERT, which we have added in our class from the Tamil Nadu history book, R.S. Sharma and Satish Chandra. But just imagine the pain of those students who are studying in 6th and 7th class right now. They might not get these kind of details. So that's why, as you missed your details, the sequence, the storyline in the school days, that's why you started hating it. If I ask you to watch a movie, and if I show you the scenes of that movie from here and there randomly, you might not understand the beauty of that movie. You might not love that movie. You will not like to watch it again. But if you will watch a movie from starting to end, and if you will understand that great story, you will love it. So try to understand the story in a sequence. This is the story of your country, how it evolved, how you came to this present situation. So if you will follow the chronology, it will be very good. And once you understand the story, it will be interesting automatically. Okay. Now let's come to the next question. Okay, MCQ session separately. Fine, fine. I hope this was a good idea then. The next question is by Uday. Shivaji followed Portuguese way of navy while Cholas had their own with navy. Basically, we can't compare that they followed this way, because before Portuguese came to India, and when the Marathas were also ruling in India, you will see that Marathas already were very very powerful and smart. They knew about navigation, and we still in India already had navigations, navies in since the ancient times. So we knew about it. But Portuguese, with their style, they just added a new thing, that they had cannons on their ships. So their ships could do the warfare activities also. That point was taken and adapted by few of the Indian rulers, like Shivaji also did it. But we lacked on the part of technology and organizational skills. That's why we could not sustain in the medieval times. And that's why you'll see the fall of many Hindu kingdoms, Rajput kingdoms in the medieval India. We are coming to it. Right now, whatever we have covered till now was the golden period of your country. Okay, you have discussed the golden time. Like we were doing so good. Architecture, sculptures, all the kinds of developments were there, right? Now you will see the fall of all these kingdoms, the clashes, the invaders, Islamic invasions, and then the Delhi Sultanate, the rules of the slaves. So that will be coming now. So you will see how, a kind of backwardness will come. A lot of manpower will be destroyed. A lot of resources are going to be wasted. So many of precious items will be stolen from India. They will be taken out, sometimes in Persia and later in Europe, right? Fine. So now, I can see that I have discussed all the questions with you. Otherwise, if you have any questions, if you want to discuss anything with me, you can write it in the comment box, or you can chat with me on the Telegram. I have now started checking the answers, so you can always get your answers checked. If you want, I can give you a new answer for the mains. Are you guys ready? Please write a new question for mains. Practice it, and then uh, after writing the answer, first of all, I have seen that you don't write 250 words. At least write 250 words in your answer. Content quality is very, very low, but I am very happy that few students tried. I want every one of you to try. Write one question, send the answer to me on Telegram, I'll check it for you. This is the question. Please write it. Give a brief description of rise of South Indian kingdoms in the post-Gupta period in a chronological order. 250 words, 15 marks. This is the question for your mains. You need to give me the answer by tomorrow in the Telegram group. To join the group, you just need to fill the form which is there in the description box. Kindly take the screenshot of the question. Okay. Fine. I hope you have written the question. So can I end the session here, guys? I hope no more doubts are left for today. I'll repeat the question. Give a brief description of rise of the South Indian kingdoms in the post-Gupta period in a chronological order. 250 words, 15 marks. It will be like a revision for you when you will write this question, and I'll see that how creatively you can make flowcharts, how nicely you can give the dates, details and the names of the kings and the rulers. And let's see if you can impress me with the answer. And once you write the answer, scan it or take a clear photo of it and then send it to the group. Fine. See you guys then. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for watching. See you then.